Trump just lashed out at the Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell, saying that his termination can't come fast enough after we heard from Powell yesterday issuing a warning about the president's sweeping tariffs and also declining to get the central bank involved for now. The president just now in the Oval Office hinting that he could potentially dismiss him and calling on
Donald Trump, the man who never met a microphone he didn't love, just got absolutely wrecked by Caitlin Collins in a way that left him blinking like a confused Roomba. 1 second, he was bragging about invisible walls and perfect phone calls. The next boom, Caitlin drops the hammer, so hard you could hear the spray turn crack. What did she say that turned Trump into a human? Buffering will stick around. This is too good to miss. Before we move on, smash that like button and subscribe, because you know you don't want to miss out on this one. It turns out there are 3 things guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and Donald Trump making America pay extra for a ham sandwich from China. And if anyone was bold enough to walk up to this neon tan economic arsonist and say it out loud, it had to be Caitlin Collins. Yes, Caitlin Collins, the woman who looked Trump dead in the eye, metaphorically loaded a truth bazooka, and absolutely dropped the hammer on his collection of overpriced economy-crushing disasters. Trump, who once bragged about being the tariff man, because apparently no one told him that's not a superhero title, decided that the best way to strengthen America's economy was to basically punch it directly in the face. And not just once, oh no, Trump made sure to line up the entire economy, slap on a blindfold, spin around 5 times and start swinging like a drunken pinata party guest. Spoiler alert, America, not China, ended up swallowing the bat. But Caitlin Collins, eternal slayer of orange nonsense, wasn't about to let him rewrite history. No, 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 she put on her steel-toed journalistic boots and stomped straight into the mess, pointing out exactly how Trump's brilliant tariffs had the precision of a toddler throwing spaghetti at a wall. Spoiler, the spaghetti stuck better than Trump's economic plans. Trump's master plan went something like this: put tariffs on Chinese goods to make them pay. Great idea, right?
Oh, he'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there. But I don't think he's doing the job. He's too late, always too late, a little slow, and I'm not happy with him.
Now, whether or not a Federal Reserve Chair can be dismissed from their 4-year term while they're still in it remains to be seen, because
except tiny detail he missed: tariffs are taxes on Americans. Yes, Donald managed to invent a punishment so diabolically stupid that it punished his own people, while his enemy shrugged and moved on. Caitlin Collins practically needed a giant neon sign just to drive the point home: hey mega shoppers, that extra 25% you're coughing up at Walmart, it's not owning China, it's you being owned by Trump. The best part, while the farmers, the truckers, the manufacturers, basically anyone not living in a literal gold tower, were gasping for air under the weight of rising costs, Trump was parading around declaring victory like a drunk guy who just won 3rd place in a hot dog eating contest he wasn't even invited to. Has been Caitlin Collins didn't just drop the hammer, she built an entire Home Depot and dropped that too. She broke down the real numbers, the ones Trump praise his followers never bother to look at, because let's be honest, math is hard when your entire economic literacy is built on expired monopoly money. Trump's tariffs ended up costing American consumers roughly $57 billion, 0 cents in added cost, that's billion with a B, as in bigly screwed. Farmers were forced to rely on massive government bailouts paid for by, wait for it, American taxpayers. That's right, America, you paid extra at the store and you paid extra to bail yourself out. Thanks, tariff man. Caitlin Collins knew it, and she made sure everyone else knew it too. Every time Trump tried to spin his trade war into some kind of glorious patriotic battle, Caitlin showed up with a receipts folder so thick it could have its own zip code. And remember the genius plan where Trump slapped?
I mean, Trump, this has always been the case with him. The 8 years that I've covered him, he views foreign policy with a real estate lens there as well. I mean, his own advisors will acknowledge this. And, you know, he did it about North Korea. They talked about oceanfront property there. And if the Hermit Kingdom changed its ways and, you know,
tariffs on steel and aluminum, pretending it was to protect national security, well, it turned out to be about as protective as using a spaghetti strainer for helmet manufacturing companies who relied on cheap steel and aluminum to build actual things, suddenly faced higher costs. Higher costs meant higher prices, fewer sales, layoffs, and brace yourself, factories closing. You know, the very factories Trump promised to bring roaring back, like it was 1955. Instead, under Trump, the only thing roaring was the sound of job losses piling up. Meanwhile, Caitlin Collins was there with her metaphorical megaphone, shouting at the top of her lungs, "Hey Captain Cheeto, you're literally gutting the economy you swore to save." But Trump just kept bumbling along, grinning and clapping for himself, like he just figured out how to spell tariff without using a teleprompter. And let's not forget the retaliatory tariffs. Because newsflash, other countries don't just sit there and take economic sucker punches. China, Canada, the EU, they all fired back with their own tariffs on American goods. So while Trump was busy bragging about winning, American farmers were watching their soybean exports rot in silos, wondering if maybe, just maybe, electing a man who thought foreign policy was a McDonald's coupon might have been a tiny tactical error. Once again, Caitlin Collins was there, dragging Trump's fantasy economics into the bright, harsh light of reality. She reminded the world that Trump's easy-to-win trade wars ended up costing 300,000 American jobs. Easy win her, about as easy as juggling flaming chainsaws. Trump's logic was basically this: if something costs more, Americans will just make it themselves. Cute theory. Slight problem: building manufacturing from scratch takes decades.
We had a great call, and it lasted for a long time, over an hour this morning.
It's the first time we're hearing directly from Trump on this call that he had with President Putin today, the first confirmed call that we know of between the U.S. president and the Russian president since Trump took office a few weeks ago.
President Putin said that he wants it to end. He doesn't want to end it and then go back to fighting 6 months later. We talked about the possibility.
It's not presidential terms. It's like deciding to cut off your legs today because you might invent hover boots tomorrow. Meanwhile, Americans just had to sit there bleeding money at the checkout counter while Trump posed next to stacks of hastily printed mission accomplished banners. Caitlin Collins pointed out another delicious nugget of reality: the tariffs didn't even achieve their main goal of closing the trade deficit. In fact, the trade deficit ballooned to a record high under Trump.